Right. So we are here for a webinar about something that touches all of us, all of our hearts, and deeply, I would say, and that's emotions. And probably also overwhelming emotions. And what the half an hour together will be gentle, it will be loving, it will be mindful, as we learn to transform our emotions into doorways to insight, doorways to presence, doorways to growth, you could say. Yeah? All of these things that our emotions lead us to. And we also know that when one of those big emotions comes up, it sort of hijacks us and it feels like we're not getting anywhere. And that's why it's so important to learn about emotions and to kind of learn a way of working with them so that we know what to do when a big one arises and when we get stuck with one. That's why I'm very passionate about it, because it's hijacked my life a lot. And then when I found freedom from it, and now I know how to work with it, I think they're brilliant. So they're like the fuel of the engine for change. That's what emotions are, you know? So let's just take a moment to sit, to just arrive. And I think it's really good to take a moment around the rooms that everybody is in. Some of you are outside, some of you are inside, and some of you just see the names, and that's absolutely fine too. I'm very happy, however you want to show up, that you're here. And then also have to look around the room that you're actually in. So now just scanning the surroundings in which you are seated. And the scanning is important. If you're not aware of it, if you come to me a lot, you know, but it signals to your nervous system that what sort of all your experiences land in, that everything is okay. You know, if everything around you is safe, then, and you see that very consciously, something in you settles. And that also means, again, that you can be with what needs to be with more ease. Okay. And then you can just stop and be. And you can do this with your eyes open if you wish. You can do this with your eyes closed. You can do this with your eyes gaze down, soften your gaze. Just take a moment to stop and pause and feel. We're here to work with emotions, so is it okay for you to take a moment to notice how you are doing? Have you stopped at all today to ask yourself that question and give yourself a moment to feel? And it's like you're making a U-turn rather than that attention being out in the world the whole time. You're now turning around, making a U-turn towards our inner world, what's going on inside of us right now. And it doesn't matter whether you can label it or not, whether the words are clear around it or not. Can you just be with the feeling? Can you just be with the feeling? Without trying to fix it, without a need to change it. And perhaps with a loving presence, maybe we can send some care and some love towards what we find in ourselves. And that love can come in many ways. It can be a hand on your heart. It can be just a gentle breath into it. It can be a soft message like, it's okay. It will all work out, even when it doesn't. I see you. I love you. You are perfect as you are. There's no need to change or be any different. And notice what a message like that does for your system. I see you. I love you. You don't have to change. You are perfect as you are. Notice how that holds the possibility for your whole system to relax. And that there's a possibility for more openness towards life when a message like that is given to yourself, by yourself. A message of kindness, of self-kindness. It's okay. I see you. I know you're doing the best you know how to. I know you've always done that. And you are perfect as you are. You don't need to change. Just relax. How does that feel? Okay. And then you can simply open your eyes and come back to the room, or stay with your eyes closed and just listen. And this simple message of self-love towards what you feel, and just being with what you feel, changes everything. And emotions they're powerful indicators of where we are stuck. Yeah. And what needs our attention, basically. And they guide us towards these areas within ourselves that require healing and that require transformation. Okay, so see emotions as indicators. It's like a little light that switches on and say, hey, something needs attention right now. That will help us grow, that will help us heal, that will help us change, bring transformation in a good way. And so that means we have to kind of move towards the emotion. And we have to sort of move closer to the emotion, just what we did. We turn our attention to it. And yeah, so I keep saying it. Feeling our pain, feeling our emotions is the only way through. Yeah. Without feeling our pain, we become stuck. We become stuck in not wanting to feel it, and we lock up. So we either fight, we either flight, we freeze, we do whatever we need to do to not feel the emotion. And again, feeling is the engine of change and transformation. You know, it's the fuel for it. So when we feel the emotions, that's the engine. And unfortunately, we don't get taught. I mean, I don't know if there are young mothers here, but how wonderful would it be if you could teach your children to feel their emotions, that it's okay to feel. And if you are a teacher or you work with children, I mean, if we would have been taught that, our lives would look so differently. If someone would have told me when I was a child, actually, I was lucky enough. I was quite young that I was taught, but you know, like, hey, it's okay to feel. It's okay to be with the pain. We don't need to run away from it, because it's the being with it that loosens the identification with it, and that brings about a space for wisdom to arise, and for love to arise, and for something else to arise. And that what arises is going to be a little bit different for all of us. So basically, we live in a heartbreak illiterate, pain averse world. Yeah. a world that just doesn't know how to be with pain. It doesn't know how to be with heartbreak. It doesn't know what to do with it except run away, fight, and freeze. And and that makes it crucial for us to learn what to do, and especially if you have anything to do with young people as well, so you can teach them. So one of the most effective ways to deal with pain is to slow down. Literally just slow down. And it's not what you want to do when you're dealing with pain. You just want to forget. And to reconnect with our bodies. So really reconnecting with our bodies is number one. It doesn't matter whether you're dealing with grief, with anger, with emotional pain, with physical pain. It's all, again, it's taking the time to be with what you feel. And when I went through a lot of grief in my life, I was lucky to have someone in my life that told me, you have to be with it. And she was quite specific. She said, like, go lie in bed, put something really comfortable, go under the covers, forget about everything, tune into your body, where you feel the emotional pain, where you feel the grief, and take a breath into it. And whether you take one breath, whether you take 10 breaths, it doesn't matter, but just be with it. And not so long that you get overwhelmed. And the most important part of that is do not go into the story. Do not go into the story of why the pain is there. Just be with the physical sensation of it. So what happened to me is I remembered that and I planned on doing that, but of course I didn't, because who wants to do that? Who wants to go and lie in bed and be with their pain? And then the pain hit me. So at some point I was just in the house and I felt, it came in. And rather then I remembered what she said. So rather than distracting myself, I actually took a shower and I decided I'm going to be with the pain. And I had a very long shower and I was with a lot of pain, but I managed to be with it, with my breath as an anchor. So my breath was the anchor to not go into the story, and I was just with it. And it wasn't fun, but it was also beautiful. And I will never forget that particular moment because it was so incredibly powerful. I worked through something so big that I know it would have haunted me for years, probably otherwise, in many unconscious way. And because I was just there for it and I felt the incredible intensity of it and I let it wash through me and move through me, purely the pain, not the story, I was free from it more or less after. It was incredible. Like I didn't have to go back to it many times, and maybe only once or twice for a very gentle brush or something like that. So when you really can be there for it, and I was there with it, not to make it go away. My intention at that point in the shower was to be there for it so it can move through me, so I could be fully felt and seen. That has to be your intention, not for it to go away, then it won't work. But it did go away. Yeah, and it was bittersweet. It was also a lot of sweetness and a lot of understanding and so much love for myself, for the pain that I was going through and everything that brought that pain on, and understanding how it came to be. And all of that came in that situation. And it can do the same for you if you're brave enough to be with it. And that initial advice that my mentor gave me wasn't actually so bad. Like I wouldn't say go do that in the shower. That just happened to be my journey at that point. But after that, I have been sitting with it in meditation many times. But lying in bed is a good idea because it has a sort of a surrendering to it. You know, that you go lie down, you go under the cover, and you surrender to kind of that darkness to it. So it is wise advice. So I would really recommend trying it and remembering half a breath is great. One breath is great, depending on how much the pain is, how deep it is, how traumatic. Maybe only a minute. Yeah, you don't need to be overwhelmed. You become overwhelmed when you lose the presence, for example, the anchor of the breath, and when you start losing yourself in the story. That's not helpful. then it's time to pull out, distract yourself, do something else and come back to it another time for another half a minute where you can really just be with the physical sensation and the anchor of presence that you've got. All right? So, and then of course, when we start to then at some point, like really being with the emotions and you start to zoom out and you kind of, you start observing them from a place of awareness, you transform your relationship with the emotions. Rather than being the emotion, you become aware that you have an emotion. You become aware that part of you is only feeling, for example, sad. And then you might become aware of the awareness that is in which the sadness is. And then you might also just feel that you are pure awareness and the sadness might not even be there, because if you are completely 100% aligned with awareness, awareness is never in pain or sad. It's just the space in which it all arises. And from that place, then including that emotion again is amazing, because then you are not swept away by it anymore. It's just happening in something much larger. Yeah, so that's the sort of the journey you can take when you work with it. And it's what I want to do with you in a moment in a yin pose, is just take you through that. So a few things that I've learned is that non-judgmental awareness is very important when you work with emotions, that you are free from judgment. Yeah. And that you realize that there are inner voices that we all have that can be harsh, that have judgment, that are judgmental, that might really not like ourselves or others. And just remember, that's not you. That's just a part of you. It could be an inner voice that you inherited from someone in your past. It could be a carer, it could be a parent, it could be a friend, that someone just that said to you, you're no good at that, and you took it a little bit too much in and you think you're no good in anything, you know, and your whole self-worth goes. Just remembering these are beliefs and inner voices that are part of us, that is not our whole self, and that you can dialogue with, that you can ask for, what makes you feel this way and how can I make you feel better? Yeah. What are you afraid of? You know, you can ask yourself these questions when you become aware of these parts of you. And then we can transform these parts even into being allies, into helping us. Yeah. And all of that clearing of voices and of emotions helps our true essence, that what we really are, which is pure love, to shine through. Another thing that I want to say about overwhelming emotions is that our nervous system is designed to grieve with other people, to share our grief, to be with others, to be seen, even if it is with yourself, or to even be with something in nature, but it's not really wired to deal with it on our own. So if you feel you've come a certain way with what you're dealing with, and you can't, somehow you're stuck, then ask yourself what it would be like to work with someone else, to have someone witnessing your grief, your emotions, what you're dealing with. And it can be really powerful, and it can really shift what's happening inside you. So, yeah, I would like to get us all into some sort of a pose. I think it would be good, because this webinar is about combining this mindful awareness with yin poses, because the yin poses also start to work on opening the body and for issues to come out of our tissue. So it's really nice. It's an easy way to get in touch with what's going on. So you can choose your own pose. That would be totally fine. And you can also do the same pose that I'm doing. But if you feel I'd prefer to go into a different pose, then that would be totally okay. Yeah, so my pose is going to be the one where I put one knee on top of each other, shoelace pose, and I will push my camera back so that you can see it in a moment. And again, if you want to do something else, that would be perfect too. So let me just set myself up so you can see me. I think you see me all right now, huh? Yeah. So you can take any pose you wish. You can sit, for example. I always like stretching my inner thighs as well. The reason I'm taking the pose with shoelace, where I have one knee bent and I place my right knee on top, and your pose could look like this, or perhaps your pose, your foot is down, or you have your bottom leg extended out. So there's variations of this. Don't be in too much discomfort, because that's just not helpful. But a little bit of a challenge is okay. But no pain, just a bit of a challenge. And this pose for me always brings up whatever I'm not feeling. That's just very personal. It's not that this pose does that for everyone. It just does it for me. So if you want to prefer to go into another pose, you're very welcome. We're going to stay 3 minutes on each side. And okay, so inhale, finding length, sitting straight up, and take a moment to notice what it's like physically to be in this pose. And then maybe you just want to stay up here, upright. Maybe that's enough physical sensation for you, and that's perfect. And perhaps you are looking for a little more stimulation, and then you could decide to lean a little bit forward, just as far as feels enough. Yeah, so there's no need to go anywhere. It's really about finding some stimulation for most people in the outer hips, somewhere. You don't really want to feel this too much in your knees. You can place your hands in front of you and push yourself back on your sit bones a little bit if there's too much pressure on the knees. And let's stay here for 3 minutes. And you can just take a moment to feel what it's like in your body to be here. And then ask yourself, how does this make me feel? And see what arises. Or maybe this pose doesn't make you feel anything, but you're feeling something anyway. It could be the flavor of today, or the flavor of the month or the week. Some sort of an emotion that you're carrying around with you that you know about. Anything like fear or sadness or anger or anything else. Discomfort, unworthiness, sadness. You just might want to say it and feel this fully for a few moments. And notice what it's like now to fully feel this, whatever it is you're feeling, and be identified with it. So it's okay now for a moment to identify yourself with what you're feeling. And again, it can be anything from a little sadness to a lot of sadness, to not quite knowing what it is, but you just don't feel right, to a general down feeling. And you're looking for, and if you're feeling great, of course, you can just enjoy that. But you're looking for these feelings that you know are kind of stopping you from fully enjoying life to the fullest. And I'm assuming if you come here that you have something to work with. And now I would suggest to shift to be aware of the feeling from a new view by saying silently to yourself, I am aware of feeling sadness. So now you're not just, or whatever emotion you're working with, I'm aware of feeling off. I'm aware of feeling uncomfortable. I'm aware of feeling angry, upset, whatever your word is. So now you're aware of it. And experience this shift in relationship to this emotion for a few seconds. Yeah, so you're aware of the feeling now. And stay with that awareness of the feeling. And now you might want to say to yourself, I'm aware of a part of me that feels sad or angry or unhappy. So we're shifting again. Now you're aware that it's only a part of you that's feeling that. There's more than that. So you say, I am aware of part of me that is feeling this. You can still feel it in your heart, letting yourself be touched. And then we're going to gently hold that, stay with the emotion, but we come up and we change sides. So you can just lean back, and whatever you're doing on one side, do on the other side, or if you're doing a symmetrical pose, we just stay for another 3 minutes. And settling in the other side, still being aware of part of you that feels. Whatever emotion you're feeling. So you're aware of that part of you is feeling a certain way. And now, for a few moments, you can become curious of who and what is aware. Who and what is aware. So you're turning your awareness from the emotion to that what is feeling it, that what is aware of it. So now you can say something like, I'm aware of resting as this open awareness. And that open awareness is free of the emotion. So you're now turning your attention fully to that space that holds all of it, in which it all happens. So from subject to purely awareness. And it's free of emotion, and it's all around and within. And notice the freedom of resting and being the awareness that doesn't come and go, and that is not in pain. It's not tired, it's not worried. It's not sad. It's not unhappy. It just is. And then from that space, from that awareness itself, you can say gently, now, whatever you are feeling is welcome. For example, now sadness is welcome in this space. Sadness is welcome in this space. Fear is welcome. Anxiety is welcome. Pain is welcome. Grief is welcome. Because now you're holding it from a place that's much bigger. So where it might be really difficult to feel when we felt identified with it, it may be a lot easier to feel it now. From this place, from being identified as awareness, these emotions are welcome. So feel what it's like as awareness to include and welcome a part of you that may be sad or angry or anxious or jealous or just feeling horrible. And how it is to just include this part of being human, this natural part of being human, like an ocean of awareness that allows an emotion, and that emotion is just a wave. So feel this awareness-based sort of operating system that welcomes emotions with much greater capacity. And then you can gently come out of the pose on the next in-breath and release. And that is me talking for half an hour and taking you through a little bit of an experience. And I would love to know what that was like, if that made sense, that progression of that moved through your emotions, of being fully identified with it, to being aware that you are feeling it, of being aware that part of you is feeling it. And then if part of you is feeling it, then there's something else, and that's the awareness itself. And then tuning out and being just that, and then including it back in. And yeah, if you wish, you can put something in the chat for me. If you have a question, you can also raise your hand and you can ask me whatever you want to ask me. And Masha, you can help if I miss something in the chat or anything like that. But yeah, and some of you might want to drop in the chat to say how that experience was. So next half an hour is for you to ask me whatever you want around this subject. Yes, so I've got Sin. You might want to tell me if I pronounce your name right. You can unmute.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Sine.
Sin.
From outside of Copenhagen.
Yes, I think I recognize your name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Sin.
Hi. Thank you. It was short, but still. And also, I've been to your workshop and I've followed your classes. So it wasn't new to me what you just presented, and I think it's quite still quite a revelation each time to know just 5 minutes, and it can shift so much. So thank you for that.
Oh, you are so very welcome.
But I have a question also, and it's this. It's like I don't quite understand this questioning to myself from where, from my awareness, or from what voice is asking the questions, and to ask those questions without inviting myself to get lost in the story.
That's a beautiful question. Yeah, thank you for that question. I think a lot of people will be helped by the answer. Where have you gone? I suddenly don't see you anymore.
I'm still here.
You're still. Yeah, you've just moved in my screen. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So from what part are you asking the question? Okay, so you could say that. So how does it feel to you? Because I can answer it, but it might be more interesting for you to sense it. So if you close your eyes right now, are you okay to do this right now with me? We're not going to go very deep, but I'm just going to let you experience something. So if you close your eyes and you tune in to maybe what you were just with, if that's okay, if that wasn't too overwhelming, whatever emotion was there for you. And maybe you can just ask, just from yourself, say that it's wiser part, or maybe an adult part. Like you could see the emotion as a younger part, as something that hasn't been dealt with or seen when you were a child. And then you see and you're asking from your adult part, and you may say something like, hey, what is there anything I can do to make you feel better? Just something simple like that. How can I help? Yeah. And what happens when you kind of ask that? How does that feel?
Yeah, it definitely loosens. It's not so tight, and it's like it loosens from a knot to a place where I could actually cry.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes. So that gives you access. That's so wonderful. And that's
But
all we often need, is the
yeah,
access, because it's the stuckness of it that's awful to feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not like a dialogue with articulate words.
No,
No.
no, thank you for that. No, it's really a question that it's almost also to separate these two parts. Of course, it's all one in the end, but there is a part of us that is our age, that is our wisdom, that is who we are, our adult selves, and from that, maybe even our wise selves. And then there's parts of us that are being triggered, that are unfinished children parts in ourselves, parts, pain, and parts of ourselves that have not been seen. Anything we've gone through in our lives that we've not been able to feel fully has been pushed in our body. And the body holds the score. Yeah. And it's also that the body starts speaking to us. That's why doing it in a pose can be so helpful. And then that part is a child part, and you can sort of love it into healing. So asking it a few questions like, hey, how can I help? I see you, even saying I see you, or I love you, or I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. Obviously you weren't that grown up that you are now, but it's just that child did not get that part of you, that did not get the love and the support that it needed at a particular time. So it still wants that.
Yeah.
And you can still provide that.
Yeah.
Just by listening to it, and mostly by feeling it. This is what this talk is about.
Yeah.
Is to go and feel it, but not lose yourself in it. Feel it. And so this is also not losing yourself in the story. You can have a dialogue, but be very careful.
Yeah.
You're just wanting, make it about, and how does that feel in my body?
Yeah.
So embody the dialogue.
Yeah.
And then it will shift. Because again, the story is mildly interesting. It's a little interesting when we want to probe a little bit to get more answers, but we don't want to get lost in it, because it's still a story, and it needs to be felt for it to be able to come to wholeness, to finally integrate.
It makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, is that
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? I should probably read the chat for a moment. Is there anything for me? Irene from Lelystad. Pure awareness is the key to transform. Yes, Aditi, it is. And also, one little note is we can also use that not to feel. So yes, it's the key to transform, to then embrace what still needs to be felt. This difficult part is to distinguish between me and my consciousness. Yeah, and in the end, you're all of it. Your consciousness is you and all of it. It's just a little bit of a dream you. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you are willing to be bigger than what you are feeling, it will reveal itself. As the observer, well, It really helped me to identify the feeling I've been overwhelmed by and create a space to be the observer of this as just part of me feeling this, that I'm feeling joy as well. I'm now swallowed by these emotions I've been feeling for some time. I have space to work from. Thank you. Wonderful, Jenny. That sounds perfect. That's all you need. And Aditi has a question. Is it normal for the speed of the breath to change the moment you include the emotion? Yes, I get you. Yes, it totally is. What a beautiful question, Aditi. So I don't know if I pronounce your name right, but our
Yes,
emotions,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Our emotions influence our breathing. So when we, for example, meditate and the breath is our anchor and we feel our breath changing, you can be absolutely 100% sure that there's an emotion present. So yes, when you include the emotion, you will, if you're perceptive like you are, you will notice your breath changing. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Thanks a lot. Esther, I just had one more question.
Yeah.
Would it be okay for me to go on?
Will it be? Yeah.
So I hope you can hear me okay.
I can hear you more or less okay. Go on.
So there's movement through which you can feel emotion, or is movement to distract yourself from emotion, and is yin yoga or something that's restorative to kind of feel the emotion? Because in yoga you have this uh, vinyasas and flows through which you kind of change the way you feel, and then you have this kind of practices where you are being with the emotion. So the difference I feel is through movement, say for running, or you do some kind of activity which is like very fast, it takes you away from what you feel. So that is also distracting in a way, but this is kind of being with what it is. So,
yes.
Yeah, I was trying to
Yes.
figure out the difference.
Yes. So you're kind of giving your own answer, which is really nice. So indeed, like yoga is amazing because it changes, any kind of movement changes the chemistry of the body. So the faster we move, and it can be very helpful. Like if you're overwhelmed, then, and you want to not feel overwhelmed, and then having a bit of a strong practice is wonderful because it can really move through it. So you're then really consciously changing how you feel. And if that's your intention, then perfect. Yin yoga, because it's slower and we don't really move, and it's all about intention. If your intention with yin yoga is for the emotion to be there, then or to bring it out, then that will most likely happen. You do not need movement at all. Like if you are with an emotion and you feel you're able to be with it fully, then just do it in meditation. Just sit still or lie in bed, like I was suggesting, and be with it. So there's many different ways, but for some people, that's too overwhelming. And then yin yoga might just be that halfway where you can be with the emotion, but part of you is forced to be here because it's so physical. Does that make sense? So,
yeah,
and then
yes,
of course,
yes, it does.
it's all a little different for everyone, but that's what I would say,
Yes, thanks. So yeah, I kind of feel that for people who are not ready to be with their emotions, probably practicing movement and then coming down to something like again might be helpful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the answer. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's right, Aditi. Someone who's never felt, I would rather have them in a hatha yoga class, and I give them like now and then a couple of seconds or half a minute pause, and I would invite feeling something, and that would lead them there, but nothing too long. Yin yoga is a couple of minutes of feeling something. That can be a lot for people. So you're absolutely right. It's like this, you can have this progression to stillness and being fully still with it.
Yeah, because it's a bit scary for, I think it might be a bit scary for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. The part on Don't Get Lost in the Story was very helpful to me. Yes, absolutely. It's one of the most important instructions is do not get lost in the story, basically, because when you get lost in the story, you're perpetuating it in a way. It's not, you're not going to go anywhere with it. So it's really about taking a step back and just feeling it in the body. That brings on healing. Anybody else for a question? I have another 10 minutes for you if you wish. Or sharing something. Thank you, Sasha. It's indeed such an important time to explore this way of engaging with our emotions. And if there's no questions, I can take you through another little inquiry if you want, if you wish. Yeah? Okay. Then let's do that. Thank you, Terry. I'm glad to hear it was releasing for you. That's wonderful. Really nice to know how to go in that progression. Okay, let's take another few moments with our eyes closed or with our gaze downward so we can tune in. So you can, again, just for yourself, just take a moment to orient yourself in the room. And and then as you orient yourself, you feel you're arriving in this breathing body that's right here, your breathing body. Then you can take your gaze down and soften it or close your eyes. And connecting with your breathing. Noticing the natural flow of your in and out breath. And you may even invite a fuller and deeper breath. And another deeper and fuller breath, just as it goes, as you're able. And then on the exhalation, you can really feel the ground beneath you, supporting you. And there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. Just being here right now. With the support of the earth underneath us. And then you can gently turn your attention to your heart if you wish. To your chest. Noticing the sensations in your heart, around your heart. And perhaps it feels a little vulnerable there. And then, can you be okay with that? Can you allow that to be? And maybe you feel a little bit into some kind of heartache, like one of those emotions I was talking about before. We don't need to give a name to it. can just sort of be lovingly present for it. So we're now practicing what we could be doing under the blankets in our bed or in a yin yoga pose, is just to be with what it is that wants to be felt. And every moment of presence or whatever it is you feel is like a ray of sunlight. When there's sun shining, there's no darkness or shade anymore. So it's the way home. It's like that ray of sunlight. When we follow it back, that ray, it comes into the sun itself. Full awareness. And don't be afraid to feel the emotion. Don't be afraid to feel the tears or the actual ache or pain underneath it. It's okay. As long as you can just be there for it with gentleness, without judgment, without losing yourself in the story, and just as if it's held with love, and love being your body, love being your presence, love being the awareness that holds it. And if you find it's too much for you to hold, sometimes it can be overwhelming, can you bring in maybe this group of people or a group of friends or a teacher that you trust, or maybe a figure like Buddha or anybody that you feel can hold this pain with you or for you. And then bring in that image of that person, or perhaps it's your pet, so that you're not alone holding it anymore, so that there's a bunch of you holding it perhaps. And right now, remember, it is 36 of us holding this together. Not just our own vulnerability, but also each other's vulnerability. So let that togetherness, that shared holding, heal. Let that make it easier. Remember how we're wired to do it together. So feel this circle of us. And then it's not just you. So whatever you're holding is being held by all of us. And it's being held in the light by all of us. You can also feel these roots of light coming out of the earth. You know how roots usually grow into the earth, but let these roots grow out of the earth, and they're light, roots of light. And they are all around us all, and they help us hold whatever we need, whatever needs to be felt, whatever needs to be seen, whatever needs to be loved, back into healing. So it's like these roots of light are climbing up through your whole body and around you, creating this safe space for whatever you're holding. And it's all, so these roots of light can just come up around all of us like we're in a circle, just creating this safe space for all of us to hold something that we find difficult to hold by ourselves. And you can take this home with you, this visualization of these roots of light that can grow up from the earth and that can protect us and create a safe space for us to hold something. You can always imagine someone there with you holding if something is intense. It doesn't have to be just you. You can call for help. And then to sort of finish this, you can place your hand on your heart and you can bring to mind something now, just you may say to yourself, I can come back to this. I will come back to feeling this. I will not now leave it. I will make time in my day. Maybe it's even only 5 minutes a day or a couple of minutes a day, or maybe a few times a day, a couple of minutes, where you check in with yourself and be with whatever needs to be felt and seen. You can call upon these roots of light or upon the visualization of someone there with you holding it. You can take this with you and make an intention to create pockets of time in your day to be with your heartbreak. You can call it that way, or with your overwhelming emotions. And see how that will help you in your life. And then you can now bring to mind something that you are grateful for. And it can just be simple as the fact that you breathe in and out, or the support of the floor underneath us, of all of us together here in this webinar, looking into something so precious. Or it can be a pet, and perhaps 3 times saying the words to yourself, thank you, and thank you. And then simply opening your eyes. Thank you, everyone. It was absolutely lovely to be with you. And yeah, to see your faces. And especially, I think, mother and daughter are sitting there with Sarah. Huh? So good to see you doing that together. That brings tears to my eyes. It's wonderful. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And like Masha was already saying, if you want a little more help in being with your emotions, if you want to learn different ways to work with also overwhelming thoughts, I have this course, Yin Yoga Meditation within Yin, on the Academy. I think it's in the chat. And it has a 20% discount. It says for I don't know how long, but that's all Masha in the Academy. But feel free, of course, to look into that. And but what I really want is I want this revolution going through the world where everybody just takes time to be with their heartbreak and their emotions, because one person, we change the world. Huh? When we create space and work with that and clear our minds from that and become more loving and more present, then yeah, this is the way to make a better place. So take this home, pockets of time during the day where you take a moment to check in with yourself. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. And I hope to see you soon. Yeah.